You guys realize that what you're learning, do you realize how powerful it is? Do you? Like, when you master this, you could build something amazing and awesome and start a business.
You just need hardware.
But App Engine's got all that. And as you start scaling, right, okay, your bill goes up, but
You're making money.
But hopefully you're making money, and if you're not, right, you could then start to find an investor. And you say, I've got this cool site, it's built, we've got users, this is how we're going to monetize it. We need somebody to help fund it, because right now it's costing me $800 a month, and that's going to eat me up in 6 months. You know? But it's really powerful stuff. And the code sample that you have here, you don't have to understand everything. Right? This code sample, which is at right here, GitHub goes to 11 Golang training, right? It's got all the resources. And the only thing I ask is if you build something and it starts taking off, you call me. And that goes for not only you in here, but everybody watching this video on YouTube. Because you used my code to help you get going. That's the stipulation, use that code. But then I'm going to have to call up my teachers and bring them in too. Because they helped me get this code. Caleb, come on, Caleb. Caleb probably be like, no thanks, I'm happy. Where's that? All right, so this is what we're going to do in this one. It's, again, review, but good review. And we're just kind of exploring the territory, the different ways that we could keep track of people. So we authenticate them, have them log in, and then maintain information about them. So authenticate and also create a session. And so this is asking for a login again. And if I look at my developer console and my cookies, right off the bat, it wrote a cookie. So I delete this, right, and I hit refresh, and that cookie's there. And it's saying logged in value is 0. Okay. And so now when I log in and I give it the wrong password, sorry, that's not correct. And I log in again, I give it the right password. And in this example, everybody has the same password. If this is a real deal, you would have the password username checked against the data store to make sure that the person's user account's logging in. But now they log in and then log out. Well, that looks like what we just did. What happened to, I thought I was running Photoblog. I'm in cookie review. That's not where I want to be. I want to go authentication and then change directory and go into manual auth and then go into Gorilla and then go into Photoblog and go run main. All right, this is what I want. All right, so now I'm going to clear all these cookies. And when I hit refresh, nothing. Let's see if I just do it from a different one altogether, if it does anything different. I'm a little bit voodoo superstitious about this stuff. There's a lot of Google stuff. Huh?
Cookies are weird. They always get messed up sometimes.
Dude, there's 2 hard things in programming. You know what they are? Naming things and clearing cache. All right, so nothing. All right, so nothing, and now secret. And so now we have photos, and here I have my session. And look at that cookie now. There's name, there's value. When we looked at the cookie struct in the previous video, name and value. So the name is session, and the value is just a bunch of encryption. Why might we want that bunch of encryption? We don't want people manually editing a cookie. Oh, my logged in state, I'm going to change that from 0 to 1. And now just save that cookie back and use that cookie. I'm logged in. We don't want people manually editing a cookie. And we don't necessarily want them knowing what we're storing here. So if we encrypt it in some way and then store that value as a string, they don't know what's there. Right? And by the way, since we're talking about cookies, I'm sure you've seen this, but there are a lot of websites now say, we use cookies, by the way. And that's a requirement in Europe, that you have to let people know you use cookies. And then once that they close that box or hit OK, then you could just store that they've seen that, and you don't have to show it to them anymore. So here we have a photo, so we could choose a photo to add, and I just downloaded a bunch of photos. And so here's photo 01. Whoa, the exact same one. I'm going to do 02, right? And this is where it's going to store it. So right there is photo 01. And now I'm going to store photo 02. So I'm going to open that and submit. And there's photo 02. And then add another photo and submit. And then there's photo 03. All right, so a little bit of a photo blog where you could store photos. Kind of cool. And so we've seen this already, but just reviewing the point of this. And you can see it wrote those photos here. And look at the names it gave it. So why would I want to give it wacky names like that? Because what if you know, two people upload the same photo named me.jpg? Well, that's going to be a problem, right? Because when the first person goes back and looks at their thing and it asks for me.jpg, they're going to see the photo the second person uploaded because the second upload overwrote the first one. So that's one reason. Another reason is like uploading photos sort of Dropbox. If you know, people will upload the same file. So like I share a picture with all my relatives and a bunch of them decide to store it, right? That's the same picture that's been uploaded by 30 people. Why do we want to store 30 copies of it? Let's just store one copy and remember that all these other people are pointing to the same thing. So we have to only store one file. Because the less stuff we store, the less money it costs us. And so I could run a hash algorithm like SHA-1 and just run the file through SHA-1. And the hash algorithm will take input, and it will always give me, for a certain input, it will always give me the same output. And so if the same file goes through, it will get the same output. And so that's what I did here, or what we did here, just get the same output. But the main point of this is we want to look at how are we doing sessions and state and everything. And to start with this, we're going to look at just the simple one, because that photo blog has all that photo stuff in there. And so let's see how the simple one works. And I'm going to stop this and go up to 01 and go run main. And so that's running, and then let's just look at the simple one and let's clear all this out. And so here, now it's just a field, and I could put anything in there. So a bunch of 7s. And so, right, it took that and it stored it as a cookie, and then it pulled it out of the cookie and it wrote it back. So let's watch that again. Refresh. I don't know where that's coming from. Localhost 8080. So, right, there's nothing there. Oh, all right, I see where it came from. Well, no, I don't actually. I don't see where it came from. All right, and then I put something in here, and I think it has to be an email. There we go. And there's my, so that's what it's doing. So it's storing a value in here into the cookie and then pulling it back out. So let's see how it works. So we have the root, and it runs the function foo, right? It's handle func. So at this endpoint, run this function. And then we also have a variable up here at the global level, variable store, and it's equal to sessions new cookie store. Well, where's sessions coming from? Sessions is a package. This is a function. And the sessions package is Gorilla Sessions. And so we could go look at that documentation for Gorilla Sessions. And Gorilla Sessions. And did you guys see that, how I got there? Gorilla, and then there's just different stuff here, and we were using sessions. And the most helpful thing to me is to scroll down and just look at the index. If you're watching this video online, you should know, if you use Gorilla, that there's this important little note right here. Context clear context handler. And why do you need to do that? Because it will help you prevent memory leak. So you just have to sort of, what's it clearing? I'm not totally sure, but yeah, that's what you got to do.
What's that mean, leak memory?
So leak memory would be like, here's leak in memory, right? So I just keep opening resources and never closing them. And I'm filling up RAM. And after a while, my server's going to crash. So when I open a resource, I need to close it. And now I'm no longer leaking memory. So if you're forgetting to close resources, you're slowly leaking memory. right? And pretty soon you're going to not have any memory left. So you got to close resources. So that's basically what that one thing does. So the helpful thing here is this API, where it's kind of an index of all the stuff available, all the different types and functions. And so we have new cookie store from package sessions, new cookie store. And so here we have type cookie store and func new cookie store. So let's look at those. So type cookie store is a struct, codex, options. All right, we'll see what that is. And new cookie store is basically, I guess, it's going to store my cookie, right? And it gives me a pointer to a cookie store. So a little bit of information there. Not going to read it. But if I have a pointer to a cookie store, I now have these methods available. So get, match, new, save, right? So we do, here we get a new cookie store, and new cookie store takes a slice of byte, okay? And we are giving it just some secret. So some text. So we get back a store. It's a pointer to a cookie store. And with a pointer to a cookie store, where are we using that? We have store.get. Okay, what does get do? So again, right up here, we have get right there. And what does get do? Get returns a session for the given name after adding it to the registry. This is from package session, right, of the Gorilla toolkit or whatever. And we create a new cookie store, and then we say get, right? It gives us a pointer to a cookie store. We say get, we give the request and a name, and it gives us a new session. So new cookie store gives us a cookie store, and then once we have a cookie store, a place to store cookies, now we could get a session. Okay? Got a place to store cookies, get now a session. And that session is going to allow us to do some stuff. So get returns a session. It takes the request and just the name of the session, right? Some string. And so once we have a pointer to a session, we could do all these methods. Here are the pointers to a session. Name, save, store. So let's look at how we're using that. So we do store get, and we get a session. How do we use our session? All right, well, we've got session.values, session.save, session.values. Let's go look at what a session is. Type session is a struct, and it's got an ID and values. It looks a lot like a cookie, right? Cookie had name and values. And now, okay, we got ID and values, and it's just a struct. And so the values is of type what? What is the type of values in this session struct? It's a map. And a map takes a key and a value. And these are empty interface, so it's any type, a key of any type, and a value of any type. That's a pretty flexible map, right? So kind of getting a little bit loose with what is it? Static typing or strict typing, because we could put anything in there. So here we say session values, and we're giving it the key of a string email. So we're just storing that in our map. And we're saying that that's equal to whatever is entered at the form. Cool, so we stored a value. And then down here, we're printing out session values email, right? We're printing out the email if it's there. If it's not there, it'll just be nil, I think, because it's an empty interface. So I think that's nil. If it's a string, it'd be the zero value is a empty string. But I think empty interface, the zero value is nil. And we could see that, the zero value thing, just kind of out of curiosity, at Golang spec, and then also at Golang effective Go. Effective Go, and then also the Golang spec, and we could look for a zero value. And so right there, zero value, and see if this is the one. And it's false for Boolean, 0 for integers, 0 for floats, empty for strings, and nil for pointers, functions, interfaces. So it'd be nil. Just curio, right? And so if we asked for, but but we're asking for a string there, but it doesn't know what the type is yet if it doesn't exist. So it'd give us back a nil as the value because that's empty interface. And so I don't know. I guess sprint doesn't blow up if you pass nil into it. And why sprint? Why sprint? What's sprint? Does it really quick? Do this really quick. What package is it from? It's from the FUMT package. Format is how you might say it, but the official way to say it is FUMT.
You're making that up.
No, I'm not. And I laughed the same way when I heard that. I'm like, are you kidding me? And that's straight from Bill Kennedy, the author of that book, right? So it's from the FUMT package, and what does that do? What does sprint do? Let's look at it. So here we got a couple of sprints. Let's go check one of them out. Sprint formats using the default formats for its operands and returns the resulting string. So what I'm not telling you is sprint is, in my mind, and maybe this is official, string print. So when we're just not printing to, like up here we had those other prints, right? Print line, print, and then we're printing and it's going to standard out, right? Down here, instead of printing to standard out, we're just printing to a string, okay? And so you can see that right here. Inside of a string, this is all a string. Backticks from there to there. So that's a raw string literal. When you use backticks, means you could put in spaces, and you could have double quotes inside of it, like right here. And then I end my raw string literal right there, and also I begin it again right there. And in between, I put the plus to concatenate, and I've got a little go code. And that go code says, you know what? Take whatever session values was. So in the package session, sorry, not in the package session, in my session, so that get gave me a pointer to a session, and I stored that in a variable session. It's a struct, and it has the field values, which is a map. So at this key, give me that value, right? And then string print it, turn it into a string. So if the value there that's stored there is email and it's already a string, I'm not sure we need string print. I don't know which part.
Putting the go code inside of it,
yeah.
inside the
Yeah, just
string
break
like
the
that.
string up and concatenate it. It's like string plus string plus string, right? And that's an expression, right? So this is an expression, and it evaluates to a value, right? And then this would all be another expression. We're adding one string to another string,
That
right?
makes sense. Like putting the variable in there.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. So going back to the Gorilla deal. So we get our cookie store, and then we get a session. And then once we have the session, we can store things in values, and that's a map, so it's key value. So at this key, we're storing the value that came in from the form. And then we save our session, and we give it the request and the response. And that seems kind of backwards, because up here it's response and request. And then request, response. Request, response. And the reason it's sometimes backwards, I read, is because it's like x equals 12, right? So you're saying request equals response 12. No, I don't remember exactly how that was explained, so never mind on that. Anyhow, that's the way you do it. You save it. And then all we do is write out here to our response, and we write out all this. And so there's a form here, and it just says submit your email, and then it prints it. So I want to see if this runs without the format sprint. Hey, Alan Nuremberg, cool.
I used to think the other one was backwards.
Yeah. So
I always expected the request would come before the response.
that's true, huh? Yeah. So let's see. Where's my localhost stuff? I'm done with that page. 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 Here's my localhost stuff. What happens if I change my email? Does it need to be email? Dang it, I don't want that to be, I guess it's fine. There we go. So it changed it, right? And all of that encrypting and everything is all happening automatically here with Gorilla, encrypting the cookie. And so we changed the email. And what did I want to see? I wanted to see if we needed this. So I'm going to take that out and take this out.
Is session just another name for a cookie that records session information?
This is what Gorilla uses.
That's just their name. Okay.
Yeah,
Is Gorilla a package of stuff that's been written by someone else that's not on your
Yeah, yeah.
that happens to be very successful?
Just third party. And
But it's apparently
yeah, some people look to it, but I think it's best to sort of like understand as much as possible. Can I build it up with a standard library, not rely on somebody else? But you know, the session bit's nice here because if you do the HMAC, and we looked at HMAC early in the semester, but here is a, I don't know, somewhere in here, maybe it's secure cookie. So the sessions do a secure cookie, yeah, and that means it's all like encrypted and encoded and everything, so it's secure. So that's a nice thing about Gorilla with their secure cookie. So that bit right there, because the HMAC stuff, even Caleb at Summer Boot Camp took us into a little intro and just said, no, we're not going to go too far into this because it gets complicated kind of quick. So anyhow, that's sort of, you know, for me, I might just use that one piece, might just use sessions from Gorilla, and then try to do everything else myself. And it describes a session as the value is an optional configuration for a session, right? But where it's storing that is in the cookie, right? 'Cause that's the only place. We haven't put anything anywhere else. And I'm just wondering, let's just look for cookie. Key features. Uses an easy way to get signed and optionally encrypted cookies. Built-in backends to store sessions in cookies or their file system. And the way that we got that session was, again, you know, we did the new cookie store, and then from new, that gave us a cookie store, and then we said new, and then new gave us a session. All right, so I don't know. It's just figuring out how to put the little Lego building blocks of code together to get it to do what you want it to do. So there's the Gorilla session deal. And oh, we wanted to see if it worked with the change I made. So let's go check that out. I wanted to see that. I don't know about you. So I took out the format bit, and now it blew up. And it says invalid operation and mismatch types, string and empty interface, right? So right here, this is an empty interface. Even though it's returning a string, what's stored in that interface is a string. The type is still empty interface. So I could overcome that by doing an assertion. So you use assertions with interfaces. Now I'm asserting that the value that is stored there is a string. And that's different than conversion, right? Since an empty interface could store any type of a value, I can assert that that value is stored, that's stored there as a string, and then it'll be like, okay, that's a string, right? And a conversion is like I have, you know, and I don't know, what's a conversion? I have a slice of byte and I want to make it a string or something. So let's try that. Import and not use font. So let's get rid of that. And go run it. Cool, so that worked. I liked it this way better though. Let me just make sure that's still working. Yay. All right, so that's a Gorilla. Anybody have any questions?